Okay, we should be streaming now. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to begin in just a minute here.
Shabbat Shalom. This Friday night, we've got the Alliance for Gun Control, for Gun Responsibility, with us today. So that's why we picked this song to start out. Sometimes I lay under the moon and I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't wanna fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, whoa, oh, oh, one day, one day, one day, whoa, oh, oh. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when they feed on souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the waters stay raging. In this maze you can lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it faze you, no way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't wanna fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, whoa, oh, oh, one day, one day, one day, whoa, oh, oh.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. So welcome to our Biddy-led Shabbat service. Big thank you to our Biddy board who is helping to lead our service tonight, and to Jessica, our clasp fellow, for helping to lead them and helping them prepare. We're so glad that you're here. We love praying with you. Our Torah portion for this Shabbat is Parshat Mishpatim, which literally means these are the laws. And I want to share just a brief intro to this Torah portion, to these chapters that comes from Nahum Sarna, who was one of the most prominent modern biblical scholars. So it comes from a book called Exploring Exodus, The Origins of Biblical Israel. And Sarna wrote about this Torah portion. He wrote, "The administration of justice is indispensable for the orderly and continuing functioning of any civilized society. No organized community can exist without the apparatus of law. We have already seen how, at the suggestion of Yitro, Moses established the judiciary system. But what about the content of the law? The Ten Commandments do not constitute a legal system. They express general principles of right and wrong, but they contain no provisions for their enforcement. There are no humanly imposed penalties for their violation. No court of law could possibly adjudicate specific cases on the basis of the Ten Commandments alone. Accordingly, the legal code necessary for everyday application in a social context is now set forth in the Torah in some detail. And then he goes on to talk about these chapters of our Torah portion, which is Exodus 21 through 24. I don't know about you, but I usually think of Leviticus as the book that has all those laws, all the laws about the priests. And Exodus, I think of as this like really exciting narrative, and it is exciting. But what I think Sarna is pointing to and is really important is that Exodus on its own, as its own book, sets this stage for this the arc of a narrative of a people who move from being slaves to free agents. But there's the establishment of the laws that are essential to creating a just society, and how important that is going to be for the Israelites moving forward. That it's not just you're free, go, yay, but they are committing to, with God, this whole set of laws that are going to guide their life and what it means to live a life of justice, hopefully. And so it's very timely that that's our Torah portion this week, because we actually have there are two sort of days it's not right to call it a holiday, but things that we're observing the Shabbat. So one is Repro Shabbat, a reproductive Shabbat that synagogues all over the country, the world, are observing and celebrating this Shabbat, which celebrates the critical importance of advocating for reproductive health rights and justice, ensuring that everyone has access to quality, comprehensive care that they want and need to thrive with dignity. And so we honor Repro Shabbat. And in addition to that, we have a very special opportunity this Shabbat, because today is and was the Alliance for Gun Responsibilities Lobby Day. And our social justice committee is involved in many different projects, and one of them is gun violence prevention, and they do work with the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. And we are so thankful that we have three people from the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, Jordan, Nalago, and Samantha, who all work for the Alliance in different capacities and are going to spend some time sharing a little bit about their work tonight. So we're really grateful to the three of you. Thank you so much for being with us, spending this evening with us, and educating us and inspiring us. And to speak to that theme, our Biddy board members spent a little bit of time when we crafted the service. They chose some readings that you'll hear throughout the service that speak to the issue of gun violence prevention. So we'll enjoy that as well. So I would love to just really quickly have our Biddy board members introduce yourselves. Say, we'll start with Jessica, and then we'll go through our Biddy board members. Please say who you are, what your position on the Biddy board is, and then we will continue with our service.
Awesome. Thank you, Rabbi Molly. Hi, guys. I'm Jessica. I am the Director of Youth Engagement at Temple, and I'm also a class fellow working at Camp Kalsman. And if there are any teens out there watching who want to help lead services in the future, please let me know. We would love for you to lead services with us. And now, geysers.
Go. You want to go first?
Hi, I'm Josh, and I am
What happened?
I'm sorry, that was me. I'm sorry, start over.
I'm Josh, and I'm Biddy's co-religious and cultural vice president / social action vice president.
I'm Rachel, and I'm the MVP or membership vice president.
Hi guys, I'm Eden, and I'm the Biddy president. And I just wanted to remind all the Biddy teens and youth out there that we are having an event next week on February 20th. So if you guys are interested, please let Jessica Broomer know or me know. We would love to have you there.
All right, AJ and Sky.
Hi, I'm AJ, and I'm the other co-religious and cultural vice president and social action vice president.
I'm Sky, and I'm co-communications vice president.
Thank you. Sophia.
I'm Sophia, and I'm the financial vice president.
Perfect. Thank you. And David.
Hi, I'm David, and I am also co-communications vice president.
Thank you. And Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and I'm the freshman representative. Sorry, could you hear me?
And then Jessica, do we get everyone? Okay, wonderful. All right. I have a visitor here. Hi, sweetie. Okay, so as we welcome in Shabbat, we have our three, crazy here. We have our three blessings that we say to welcome in Shabbat: our blessing over the candles, our blessing over the wine or juice, and our blessing over the challah. And I am so happy to have Cheryl and Joe Trotty with us leading the blessings. They are celebrating today their 15th wedding anniversary. So we'll say Mazel Tov to them. Join me in saying Mazel Tov to them on 15 years, and hope it's many, many more years of happiness. And thank you for all the ways that you bless our community. We are so fortunate to have you, especially all the way from Spokane. And when we get to the Kiddush, we'll also just take a moment to share in any other simchas, any other celebrations that we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl and Joe. Okay.
If I can get this lit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
No, beautiful.
Amen.
We're not playing right
And in addition to celebrating Joe and Cheryl's anniversary, are there other simchas that anyone's celebrating? You can feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share birthdays, fun things, things you're proud of, if you just found out you got into a college, things like that.
I'm happy to report that I had my second COVID inoculation, so I'm happy.
Wonderful news. Thank you. Definitely worth celebrating. Anyone else? Okay. Right. I'm going to turn it back to Joe and Cheryl. We're going to join together in the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho b'ahava uvratzon hinhalanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila la mikra e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim Kivanu Vaharta, Kiltanu Kidashta, Mikol Hamim, Vishbat Kachaha, Ba'ahava Uvratzon, Hin Haltanu, Baruch Ata Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
L'chaim.
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 And before we turn to the blessing over the challah, blessing hamotzi, I want to share one more quick reading. This is a poem. By the way, I constantly feel like working from home. I'm like, where are all my books? But then I realize that I'm always like, and this book and the other book. So I think I do have more books than I think I do. But this is just a really extraordinary book of prayers and poems called Ordinary Prayers, Poems, and Meditations for Everyday Blessings by Metta Herrick Carlson. And this is a blessing for rest. The world hustles and benefits from a cruel lie. Idleness must be earned. It is reserved for the privileged who had achieved some success, a reward only after everything has been given or taken. But our bodies and souls know better. They remember the seventh day of creation, the generation of rest, the rhythm of a holy pause before there could be more living. When we rest, we call out the lie for the sake of those fooled into thinking that they are too powerful to rest, for the sake of those who are unsafe for when they pause for peace. When we rest, we can remember it is not a reward, but an essential beat. For in our stopping, we witness what God is doing inside and way beyond us. With that, I will turn it back to Joe and Cheryl one more time to lead us in Hamotzi.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in happy chorus as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Batei avon.
Yavon. Yasher koach.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Tzadik hu yishrei lev simcha. Oza ruach latzadik hu yishrei lev simcha.
Please join us for Lechado Di as we welcome the Shabbat. Lechado Di, lika likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechado Di, lika likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor bezachur b'dibor echad, Yishmianu Eloham Yuchad Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad L'Shem Multiferet V'Hish La 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 L'Chadodi Lika Likat Kala Pene Pene Shabbat Nekabela L'Chadodi Lika likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki hi mikor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'ase b'machshavti la 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 lekadodi, likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lekadodi, likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki ba'ure kumi uri, shir daberi, kevon Adonai alikni la 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 kadodi, likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lekadodi, likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Please rise and face the entrance you entered from. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala, gam v'simchat utzevola, toch emunei yam segula. Bo'i kala, la 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 lekadodi, likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lekadodi, likat kala, pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Please rise if you are able for the Baruch Hu. Yadadai, 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 yalalai, lai, yalalai, lai, yalalai, lai, yalalai, lai, yalalai, lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barehu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai. Yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai.
You may be seated. We continue with Mariv Arvim, Roll into Dark. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Boreyo balayla, Golel or mipnei choshen, Golel or mipnei choshen, choshen mipnei or roll into dark, roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to
Guardian of life, liberty, and the promise of peace, may our nation always merit your protection. We recognize that gun freedoms in our nation have resulted in too many losing the freedom to full lives. We know that peace anywhere might be shattered in a moment, but we know too that many in this nation rarely experience the safety some of us take for granted.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad Adonai Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Leolam Va'ed Leolam Va'leolam Va'ed Leolam Va'ed Leolam Va'ed
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol avacha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech Ushokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha, leman tizkeru ve'asitem et kol mitzvotai, ve'atem kedoshim leloehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem. Asher hotzeiti ethem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohim. Emet.
Keep us ever aware of the wonder of humanity and of threats to the sanctity of human life. Teach us to recognize the effect of gun violence on so many of our nation's children. May we never be lazy in our work of peace or complacent in our relative safety.
Please join us in singing Mi Chamocha.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilo, oh seifele, nora tehilo. Sefele
And please join us in the Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Hamidenu Malkinu Lechaim Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Hamidenu Malkinu Lechaim Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Hamidenu Malkinu Lechaim Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Hamidenu Shmalkenu Lechaim Lechaim Lechaim.
Please rise if you're able for the Amidah. Adonai, Safaf Tifta, Ufia Gita Hiloteha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagidor, Hagibor, Ha'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Kehanei Hakol, V'Zocher Hashdot Imotot, V'Min Gol V'Neihem, Lama Shabbat Shabbat Haba, Melech Hosea Mashiach Mageh, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Yitzhak Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol Mitim, Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mishiv Mikal Hayim V'Shet Yivrach Hakol, Perim Rabim Sami Noflim, V'Rafei Cholim, V'Matar Osmin, Ukayem, and Lashim Afar. Hamo Haba Gevurot, Uli Doleo, Melech Limit, Mehayeh, Umati Meshua, Venei Enem, Atat Lekadil Hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechelo Hakol.
We're going to take a few moments now for silent prayer. You can go ahead and be seated whenever you're done. We'll join back together in one of our prayers for peace. Shalom Rav.
Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rahava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rahava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rahava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tov B'neinecha Yevarech Et Amcha Yisrael B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם תשים לעולם
Help us all to appreciate one another and the variety of viewpoints in this community and beyond, and teach us to respect the many ways we may serve you. Then, we've been taught, shall our light rise in darkness, and this gloom be as the noonday.
Oseh Shalom Bimroma Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshei Tevel Ve'imru Shalom Bimroma Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru
We turn now to our prayer for healing, and this Shabbat we're going to join together in a beautiful melody by Nava Tehillah, which uses the words that came out of Moses' mouth when his sister Miriam was sick, and he opened his mouth and what came out was a simple prayer. Please, God, heal her, heal them. And sometimes it's the simplest things that speak to our deepest truths of what we're longing for. So this Shabbat, we are praying for the healing of Valentina Darkovsky, Azrael Early, Rohan Early, Tara Landry, Myra Masig, Patricia Shapiro, Orly Sherman, Amy Thornton, Deborah Newman-Ziskasingay, Lindsay Robinson, Laura Armstrong, Stacy Hetzel, Diane Turner, Michael Sirkenpool, Jacqueline Tara Smith, Kalina Suzawa, Deborah Rose, Sid Rubin, Liliana Oxsmith, Hans Wheel, Phil Grinker, Terry Cowlett, Pam Shane Johnson, Eileen Kreisman, Ronnie Haber, Sherry Schnabel, Carlene Ackerman, Scott Bush, Lisa Bush, Sarah Rose, Mary Ann Witten, Mary Wilhite, Beverly Harrison Tonda, Sid Hendrickson, and Leslie Launer. If there's someone that you're especially praying for healing this Shabbat, I invite you to share the name of that person with our community here.
Leslie Launer.
Karn Hanhart.
And let's join together in our prayer for healing. Pray for a swift and complete healing for all those who are in need. And let's say together, Amen. It is my honor now to turn over to Jordan and Nalago and Samantha to learn a little bit about the Alliance for Gun Responsibility and some of the work that you've been doing, and how to learn more about how we as a community that cares deeply about gun violence prevention can be partners with you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Molly, and thank you, everybody. Is it possible that we could have permission to share the screen?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. All right, you should be able to do it now.
Perfect. All righty, let's see here. Again, everybody, thank you so much for having us here. Big thank you to all of you, to Rabbi Molly and to Glenn, who helped put all this together. Before we start, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the victims of the Parkland shooting, which anniversary is this coming Valentine's Day, and those that can't raise their voices to seek progress anymore and have been silenced unfairly and untimely. With that, I'll start the presentation. I'm Jordan. I'm the advocacy coordinator over here at the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, with Nalago, who is also an advocacy coordinator, and Samantha, who is our electoral legislative organizing fellow. A little bit about who we are is the Alliance for Gun Responsibility is a state NGO, which is a non-government organization that focuses on creating laws that reduce access to dangerous weapons and help make sure that those weapons stay out of people's hands who shouldn't have them. For those who don't know, our federal standards for firearms are very lax, and we have been working really hard to make sure, at least from a state government, that we have really strong regulations that are appropriate and that make sure that no unnecessary harm comes in the ways that we've seen all too often. A little bit about our history is that after the Sandy Hook shooting, this group was put together from a group of concerned citizens, parents, faith leaders, and legislators who were tired of people offering just their thoughts and prayers and wanted to actually move the needle on this. And so what ended up happening is they built this non-government organization, and then they've been fighting ever since to focus solely on the issue of gun violence and gun violence prevention. This is more the bureaucratic setup of our organization. For anybody who's interested in NGOs, we would love to talk to you more about this. But because we are broken into 3 different arms, which is a PAC, a C3, and a C4, we can do research and outreach and help people get involved. We can work with legislators to get effective policy passed, and we can directly support and work in elections in ways to make sure that the right people who care about this issue are going to the legislature and are willing to take the really hard stand to make sure that gun violence prevention policies move forward in a really substantial way. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Sam.
Hi, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Sam. Just a quick background on me. I'm the Legislative Organizing Fellow at the Alliance. I'm also a recent graduate from UW. I also want to add that I became very passionate about gun violence prevention and other social justice issues from being involved in my youth group at my local synagogue growing up. So I'm just very honored to be here and to talk to you all. So thank you. So I just wanted to start off by giving some statistics about how widespread gun violence is in America. On average, more than 100 people are shot and killed in the United States with a firearm. More than 1,500,000 students have survived a school shooting since Columbine in 1999, which was nearly 22 years ago. In addition, we know that gun violence disproportionately affects minorities, including the Jewish community. I'm sure many of us can relate to going into synagogue in person and gun violence being a very valid threat and fear that we experience. So Jordan, would you mind switching the slide? Thank you. And we also know that Washington State is not immune to gun violence. In Washington, a person is killed with a gun every 12 hours on average. And specifically in King County, where we are, young people are more likely to die by firearm homicide, while older adults are more likely to die by a firearm suicide. And the reason we show you these statistics is to show how prevalent gun violence is in America and in our state, and how we need comprehensive efforts to end this. Jordan, would you mind switching the slide? And gun violence is not just about statistics. It deeply affects and traumatizes people, family, and communities. At the Alliance, we work with survivors each day that have experienced immense trauma due to gun violence and are dedicated to ensuring that no one else has to experience the same horrors due to gun violence that they experienced. So you can check out their stories on our website if you're interested. And next slide, please. And gun violence isn't just political, it's a public health crisis that kills thousands of people a year. Just like we've seen lowering incidents of tobacco usage and drunk driving with a public health approach, we need that same dedication to gun violence prevention in order to end this epidemic that we've seen in our country. And if we go to the next slide, thank you. So gun violence prevention legislation does happen at the federal level, but it happens really slowly. So the first one was in 1934, which imposed a tax on the selling of firearms. We then see in the 90s, there are more requirements of background checks starting to be implemented at the federal level. The FBI and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms take on the enforcement role of this. And like I said before, we need a public health approach for this. So the CDC also has a role of research and collaborative approaches to preventing firearm injuries. However, there's been a lot of limits to gun violence prevention legislation at the federal level. Amendments in the past 20 years or so prohibit any release of data showing where criminals purchase their firearms to the public, which makes finding solutions to gun violence prevention very difficult. Gun manufacturers and dealers also cannot be held liable when crimes have been committed with their products, giving the gun industry basically a lot of immunity, which makes it really difficult to hold them accountable when horrific crimes occur in the country. All right, we switch to the next slide. Thank you. So since progress has been really difficult to achieve on the federal level, many efforts are dedicated to gun violence prevention policy at the state level. So the Alliance has had many victories in Washington state in getting gun violence prevention policies enacted. So some highlights I wanted to share was in 2014, our first ballot initiative, 594, expanded background checks throughout the state of Washington. Then in 2016, our second ballot initiative, 1491, established extreme risk protection orders in Washington, which basically prevent individuals who are at risk of harming themselves or from harming others from accessing a gun or a firearm. And then in 2018, our third ballot initiative, 1639, implemented the most comprehensive gun violence prevention measures in our state's history, which strengthened rules for purchasing semi-automatic rifles and establishing state storage incentives. So these are victories that we're very proud of, but there is a lot more work that needs to be done. So now I'm going to pass it back over to Jordan for our next slide.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, so as Sam was saying, we've run initiatives and we also do a lot of work in the legislature and have had a lot of victories. I've been blessed and humbled enough to be able to work on some of these things, but we work on everything from ensuring that folks who shouldn't have a firearm can't get one, and that folks that sell people a firearm who shouldn't have one are held criminally liable. Gun violence has so many intersections, and one of the biggest ones we see is in domestic violence. And a domestic violence situation is never okay. It's never something that's easy, but it's made so much more deadly with the presence of a firearm. And we've helped create provisions that help somebody in a bad situation with a firearm seek help from a judge to temporarily remove those firearms so they can leave that situation without fearing for their lives. Other victories that we've had is we've made 3D printed parts for firearms illegal in Washington state, which if anyone's familiar, up until 2 years ago, you could just print any part for a firearm and assemble it at home. We also have done, which is a big deal, and I think one of the biggest things we've accomplished is the CDC can't share information with us on gun violence for fear that it is going to be disproportionately used to prosecute manufacturers and those who sell firearms. So Washington state has actually cut out money from the state government to create its own independent research facility that's going to allow us to quantify data, not us at the Alliance, but the state to quantify data on gun violence, so that when we're making laws, we can be more informed and make sure that we're attacking gun violence in the places where it is and craft legislation that is specific to the communities that it's affecting. It's really a very, very slow process. A lot of the things we've done in our ballot initiatives, we're still fighting in court today, and we are still working to improve in the legislature. So it's a continuous battle, but it's one that I wake up every day glad that I'm a part of. So I just wanted to give that little piece. And with that, I am going to turn it over to our other advocacy coordinator, Nilago.
Thank you, Jordan and Samantha, and especially thank you, you guys for having us. I just want to say thank you for your resilience, thank you for your humanity, thank you for your presence. I'm really honored to be here. It's my first time to attend a service of this kind, and I just want to say that I'm humbled. So the Alliance for Gun Responsibility operates under a mission that works to end gun violence crisis in our communities and also to promote a culture of gun ownership that balances rights with responsibilities. Because guys on the other side of this issue, they always use the Second Amendment rights. And so we are saying that, well, we are really fighting. The Alliance for Gun Responsibility is fighting to promote a culture of gun ownership that balances rights with responsibilities in order to save lives. So here is laws overviews, an overview of laws in Washington state, but I'm not going to dwell too much on this. One thing that we didn't mention is that we are going to share this PowerPoint presentation with you guys. There is a lot of information to explore here. There's a lot of information and research that the Alliance for Gun Responsibilities with our partners we have done. And so it's really worth your time to look at all this and in order to inform yourself what is really Washington State is doing, and especially the Alliance for Gun Responsibilities is doing to promote, again, to prevent gun violence crisis in our communities and to save lives. So background checks, Samantha already talked about that, and extreme protection orders, assault weapons, domestic violence and firearms, storage, training and permitting, suicide prevention, ghost guns and bump stock research funding, local laws and preemption. These are really, some of the things that the Alliance for Gun Responsibility has been focused on. But what is more important today, we would like to talk about what the Alliance is doing during this legislative session. And I'm gonna be fast, but this is important. Each year, the Alliance for Gun Responsibility has priorities. So we keep a close eye on what the legislature is doing. We mobilize communities, we organize volunteers and supporters to really put pressure on our elected officials to act, to prevent the tragedies that have been happening. There are laws that can, bills that can become law to save lives. We are lobbying really hard. We are we want to make sure that certain loopholes are addressed. So this year, one of the bills that we are supporting and prioritizing and lobbying for is Senate Bill 5078, and this one has to do with limiting high capacity magazines. So high capacity magazines, why is this important? It's because when a gun is loaded with so many magazines, it has the ability to make shootings more deadlier. They do not belong in our communities. They make it easier for shooters, again, to inflict maximum damage. And we have plenty of examples of this. And, we just are working hard to make sure that at least now we have a background check system that helps to ensure firearms don't make it into dangerous hands. But how about we also address access to high capacity magazines? And that's one of the things that one of the bills that we are working on. So what will this do? It's a step required to prohibit magazines that can carry more than 18 rounds. And we are really hopeful that this bill will become law. The second one is Senate Bill 5078, and this one is addressing open carry. So we have really seen throughout the last year, we have seen militias showing up at the state capitals where our lawmakers are busy with public policies, including working on bills that will save lives. And they even show up at, residential neighborhoods. They show up at rallies and at peaceful rallies, peaceful protests. An example is they have been going to the Capitol and then protesting everywhere, rallying against coronavirus restrictions, peaceful Black Lives Matter protests, and then also protesting the result of the election. And they do this, they open carry rifles that their primary purpose why they are doing that is to intimidate everyone from Governor Jay Inslee to just, an ordinary citizen like ourselves. So this is not okay, and the Alliance is lobbying diligently to ensure that our lawmakers really pay attention so that they can pass this, so that these bills can become law. Next slide, please. Yes, so be in touch with us, and this is our information, but I'm also going to hand it over to Samantha so she can talk directly and make a direct appeal to the young people here, because, you know, at the forefront of this fight to save lives is really the young people that are leading the charge. So Samantha?
Well, like I said before, growing up in the Jewish community and being involved in synagogue my whole life really inspired me to become involved in a lot of social issues, and gun violence prevention being one of them. I know that you all are here, you all care about issues affecting our community. So I urge you to also get involved. Feel free to reach out to me. You can see my email and my phone number are right there. I'm so happy to talk to you and help get involved, whether it's starting a chapter at your synagogue or your school, or however you want to become involved. We are just so appreciative. And like Nalago said, it's the youth voices that are going to make a difference and matter so, so much. So feel free to get in touch. I would love to talk to you.
And the last thing I'm just going to say in closing real quick is, again, thank you so much for having us today. A lot of what our job is to work with communities and help them navigate bureaucracy so that they can be in this fight with us and they can do their own pushes and their own advocacy, because it can be confusing and it can be really intricate. And we're here. We're here. The biggest part of our job is to be a support network for those people who want to work on this. So please, if you want to reach out to me, Nalago, or Sam, please do, because our door's always open. And we would love for you to come be in this fight with us. And for all of the young people here, again, we do regularly have internships, and it's a great experience. You can learn a lot about how to advocate really efficiently by taking one of these internships. And of course, they're all paid. So please keep an eye out. I will work with Glenn to make sure we get those postings to you when they're available. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Jordan, Nalago, and Sam. And we have many of our teens, our seniors, going off to college next year. So there's for sure work that can be done on future campuses as well. So I, at the beginning, shared that our portion, Mishpatim, is all about how important it is to establish laws in order to have a just society. And one of the things that I've always really loved about the Jewish approach to law is how it's a little overwhelming, but this idea that the law has to be ongoing and evolve as society evolves. And so hence, as we study Jewish texts, we have all sorts of codes that have come after the Torah that continue to interpret what the Torah means for our lives. And we so appreciate the work that you do to help our constitutional laws continue to evolve so that they can serve the purpose that they are meant to serve. So thank you so much again for being with us. And thank you to Glenn for arranging our speakers. So we're going to continue along with our service with Aleinu, our prayer that reminds us that we have a holy and sacred task to be a light unto the nations and to help repair the broken places in our world. So if you're able, please rise, and we will join together in Aleinu, led by Eden.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekru l'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzon, velo samanu kamishbechot hadama, shelo sam kelchenu kachem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. Ve'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad.
Shemo Echad.
You may be seated. We turn now to the mourner's Kaddish, remembering loved ones who we've lost either recently, if you're observing Shloshim or Shiva, the mourning the recent loss, so within a week or a month of losing a loved one, or observing a yard site marking the anniversary of the loss of a loved one. And we take a moment now to offer up the space if anybody wants to share, if there's somebody remembering the Shabbat and you're comfortable sharing the name of that person and anything you want to share, something that you loved about them, a memory, something you learned about them, just a few sentences that help bring their memory into this space. It helps us to support you as a mourner.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Elizabeth, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to mention Betty Selman. She was a very good friend of mine. And we met at the old Sinai, Temple Sinai, so many years ago. This is almost over 40 years ago. And we were friends ever since. We've done so many things together. She was just a beautiful lady, both inside and out. We played golf. She was my golf buddy. And we had a lot of laughs over all the bloopers that we did over the years. It was really fun to have her as a partner. We shared a book club together, and we played bridge together, and we did a lot of things. I'll dearly miss her.
Thank you. This Shabbat, as a community, we're mourning the recent loss of John King, friend of Arnie and Susan Goldstein. And we are also observing the yard sites this Shabbat of Gladys Bloom, Muriel Brill, Beatrice Young Carlin, Lucille Paris Karp, Ann Cheatham, Harry W. Dryblatt, Dasha Felvarg, Richard Frank, Eli Glass, Morris Goldberg, Julius C. Goldner, Anne Marie Heyman, Hyman Hurwitz, Maria Kavkina, Gertrude Keir, Ethan Lax, Guido Marcatelli, Gerald D. Michaelman, George R. Mosler, Jean Pardo, Ethel Gold Pollitt, Johnny Seidel, Abram Shore, Martisa Smith, Elizabeth Spector, Bob Stubbs, Boru Weiselman, Siegbert Whale, Jack Edwin Williamson, and Russell Wolfe. We join together now in the words of Mourner's Kaddish in support of all our mourners, and if you are able, please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad divrach rute v'amlich malchute, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chaye de kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei de kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to the whole world. And we say together, amen.
All right, and before we get started with the song, its name is Kehila Kadosha, and this means holy community. And the song talks a lot about doing our part to make our community, to make our holy community, to keep it together, to do what we need to do. And part of that speaks a lot to noticing when things are wrong, when laws need to be changed, and when we need to put into work to make our community more holy.
If you are a temp, then wear nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. If you are a temp, then wear nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Lai, 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 Lai. Oh, Lai, 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 Lai. Each one of us must play a part, each one of us must heed the call, each one of us seek the truth, each one of us must be part of it all, each one of us paid, each one of us find the joy, each one of us, each one of us. Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha. Each one of us must start to hear, each one of us must sing the song, each one of us must do the work, each one of us must right the wrong, each one of us must build the home, each one of us must hold the hope, each one of us, each one of us. Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha. It's how we help, it's how we give, it's how we pray, it's how we heal, it's how we live, it's how we help, it's how we give, it's how we pray, it's how we heal, it's how we live. If you are a temp, then wear nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. If you are a temp, then wear nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Lai, 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 Lai. Oh, Lai, 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 Lai. Oh.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you again to Eden and Rachel and Josh and AJ and Sky and David and Sophia and Natalie for leading us in prayers, for crafting a beautiful Shabbat service. And again, thank you to Glenn for arranging our three wonderful speakers from the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. I have just one quick announcement, which is that Josh Niehaus, our artist in residence, and I have been working on a little project that we're calling Tefillah Tidbits on Tuesdays. It's a mouthful, but watch out. Next Tuesday, we'll be putting our first video up on YouTube. So I'm sure you'll get an email about it, but if you just can't even wait, you can be on the lookout on Tuesday. And before we officially end our service and move into our oneg, I want to give Donna an opportunity if you want to say anything, Donna.
Oh, thank you, Rabbi. Oh, lovely service. Thanks, guys. I always enjoy our youth services. They're very inspirational. Thank you very much. We have some really exciting activities coming up for Purim. I want to make sure everyone knows about. Next Shabbat, we have a wonderful artist in residence. That's going to be very exciting. And then on Sunday, we're having our Purim pick-me-up, which is literally an opportunity to come to temple and pick up some Purim goodies. And we'll also welcome your donations of food that we're donating to the Hope Link Food Bank, and bring your spare change, because we're going to have a Purim game that you can drive by and play a game which involves donating your money or throwing it at something. And it'll be super fun, and it'll be tzedakah, so you won't want to miss that. I look forward to seeing you all in a week.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. I am going to end our live stream. If you're watching on live stream and want to join us for the oneg, welcome, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody.